Most men do not lose desire because they are rude, careless, or emotionally closed. They lose desire because they do things that feel right, things that feel mature, things that feel kind, things that feel emotionally intelligent, things they were told would make them a better man. And that is exactly why these behaviors are so dangerous. Because when desire dies, there's no obvious mistake to point to. She does not get angry. She does not argue. She does not accuse. She simply pulls away. And when a man asks what went wrong, he often hears the most confusing answer of all. You did nothing wrong. You are a great guy. I just do not feel it anymore. That response hurts because it feels unfair. You showed up, you listened, you cared, you tried to do everything correctly. So why did desire disappear? Because desire does not respond to effort. It responds to how the nervous system feels around you. Desire fades when the emotional environment becomes heavy, not unsafe, not toxic, just heavy. Let us talk about the first behavior that creates that weight. Many men believe being emotionally available means always being responsive. They reply quickly, they check in often. They make sure she never feels ignored. On the surface, this feels considerate. But psychologically, constant availability removes tension. Research in attachment theory shows that anxious attachment behaviors increase closeness, but reduce attraction over time. Hazan and Shaver demonstrated that desire thrives in secure independence, not emotional fusion. When a man is always available, he is communicating something subtle. He is communicating that his emotional state is easily accessible and easily influenced. That does not create mystery. It does not create polarity. It creates predictability. And desire requires some distance to breathe. Here is the painful truth most men resist. Being available all the time does not make you feel safe. It makes you feel emotionally flat. Now think about the next behavior. Men are taught to validate constantly, to agree, to reassure, to confirm feelings, to say, I understand how you feel. Validation is important. But over-validation becomes emotional caretaking. Psychological studies on emotional labor show that when one person feels emotionally responsible for the other, attraction declines. Why? Because desire requires freedom. When a man constantly validates, he unconsciously places emotional responsibility on her. She starts to feel that her feelings must be managed carefully, that her reactions matter too much, that she has power over his emotional balance, and power imbalance kills desire. The interaction stops feeling playful. It starts feeling consequential. Then there is the behavior that confuses men the most: over-communication. Men explain what they feel, why they feel it, what they want, what they fear, what the relationship means. This is encouraged by modern dating advice. But studies on emotional regulation show that sharing emotions without regulation creates emotional pressure, not intimacy. There is a difference between emotional openness and emotional dumping. Emotional openness is sharing from stability. Emotional dumping is sharing to relieve internal discomfort. Women are not turned off by emotions. They are turned off by unregulated emotion. When a man shares feelings because he needs relief, her nervous system feels it. It feels like pressure. She may not consciously identify it, but her body registers it as weight. Another behavior that feels nice but kills desire is excessive reassurance. Men want clarity. They ask where things are going. They ask how she feels. They ask if everything is okay. This feels honest. But reassurance seeking is rooted in anxiety, not connection. Research on attachment patterns shows that repeated reassurance seeking decreases attraction because it signals emotional dependency. A man who needs reassurance cannot be fully present. He is always checking, always scanning, always trying to stabilize himself through her response. And desire cannot exist when someone is managing uncertainty instead of tolerating it. Now consider the behavior that men rarely question. Being endlessly agreeable. Agreeing feels smooth. Agreeing avoids conflict. Agreeing feels emotionally safe. But attraction does not grow in environments without friction. Psychological studies on polarity show that desire requires contrast. Not conflict, contrast. When a man constantly agrees, he removes contrast. The interaction becomes emotionally soft but energetically flat. There is no edge, no tension, no differentiation. She does not feel pulled toward him because there is nothing to pull against. Another behavior that quietly destroys desire is over-accommodation. Men adjust their schedule, their preferences, their boundaries. They do this to be supportive. But research on self-concept clarity shows that attraction declines when one person consistently abandons their center. Why? Because desire requires a stable sense of self. When a man constantly adjusts, he communicates that connection matters more than identity. And that makes him feel emotionally dissolvable. Finally, there is one behavior that ties all of this together, making emotional certainty the goal. Men want to know where they stand. They want to feel secure. They want emotional guarantees. But desire lives in uncertainty. Neuroscience research on dopamine shows that anticipation activates desire more than fulfillment. When everything is clarified, explained, and secured, desire has nowhere to move. This is why so many men do everything right and still lose attraction. They remove all tension in the name of safety. But desire needs safety plus space. Safety without space becomes emotional weight. If this is uncomfortable to hear, that is a good sign, because it means you are close to the real issue. In part 2, we are going deeper into why being emotionally open at the wrong time feels suffocating, why trying to be a good man creates pressure, and how men unknowingly turn connection into obligation. And most importantly, how to stop doing that without becoming cold, distant, or fake. If you listen carefully, everything in part 1 points to one core mistake. Most men try to create connection by reducing discomfort. They remove uncertainty. They remove distance. They remove tension. They believe closeness automatically creates desire. But psychologically, desire works in the opposite direction. Desire is not created by closeness alone. It is created by closeness that still allows space. And the moment space disappears, desire begins to suffocate. One of the most misunderstood ideas men are taught is emotional openness. Men are told to open up, to share feelings, to be vulnerable. And vulnerability can be attractive, but only when it comes from regulation. Psychological research on emotional regulation shows that sharing emotions without internal stability creates emotional load, not intimacy. There is a critical difference between expressing emotion and transferring emotion. Expressing emotion says, "This is what I feel, and I am okay with it." Transferring emotion says, "This is what I feel, and I need you to help me carry it." Women are not repelled by emotion. They are repelled by emotional dependency. When a man opens up because he needs relief, her nervous system feels responsibility. Responsibility is the opposite of desire. This is why men are confused when emotional openness seems to backfire. They think the problem is vulnerability itself. It is not. The problem is uncontained vulnerability. Another behavior that quietly kills desire is emotional caretaking. Men listen deeply. They remember details. They anticipate needs. They try to smooth emotional waves. This feels loving. But psychological studies on emotional labor show that when one partner becomes emotionally responsible for the other, attraction declines. Why? Because caretaking removes polarity. Desire needs two separate emotional centers. When one person begins managing the emotional field, the dynamic shifts from attraction to obligation. She stops feeling chosen. She starts feeling responsible, and responsibility drains desire. Then there is the habit of emotional forecasting. Men want to talk about the future, about intentions, about where things are going. They believe clarity equals security. But neuroscience research on dopamine shows that desire is fueled by anticipation, not certainty. The brain releases more dopamine in pursuit than in arrival. When everything is defined too early, desire loses momentum. This does not mean avoiding commitment. It means not forcing emotional resolution before desire has had space to grow. Another subtle behavior that kills desire is self-abandonment. Men cancel plans. They compromise boundaries. They adjust preferences. They do this to be accommodating. But research on self-concept clarity shows that attraction declines when a person lacks a stable sense of self. Why? Because desire requires something solid to move toward. When a man constantly adapts, he becomes emotionally diffuse. She does not feel pulled toward him because there is no center to pull from. Then there is reassurance seeking. Men ask if everything is okay, if she still feels the same. If he did something wrong, this feels honest. But attachment research shows that reassurance seeking signals anxiety, not connection. A man who needs reassurance cannot be fully present. He is always monitoring emotional safety instead of creating emotional space. And desire cannot survive constant monitoring. Attraction fades not because men are too caring. It fades because care turns into control. Control of outcomes, control of emotions, control of uncertainty. And desire requires the opposite. It requires tolerance, tolerance of silence, tolerance of ambiguity, tolerance of not knowing. A regulated nervous system can tolerate uncertainty without collapsing. An unregulated one tries to close every emotional loop. This is the real difference between men who remain attractive and men who fade into emotional comfort. The attractive man is not colder, he is more contained. He does not rush to resolve emotional tension. He does not rush to clarify feelings. He does not rush to secure outcomes. He allows attraction to breathe. And here is the most important truth most men miss. Desire is not a reward for being good. It is a response to emotional freedom. When a woman feels free around you, desire has space. When she feels responsible for your emotional state, desire shuts down. This is why so many men hear the same words at the end. You are a great guy. You did nothing wrong. I just do not feel it anymore. She is not lying. She is describing a nervous system response. Her body stopped feeling pull and started feeling pressure. And pressure kills desire. The solution is not becoming distant. It is not becoming indifferent. It is not withholding emotion. The solution is regulation. Being emotionally present without being emotionally dependent. Being open without leaking. Being kind without caretaking. Being interested without urgency. Attraction grows when you stop trying to manage how she feels. When you stop trying to secure certainty. When you stop turning connection into obligation. The men who maintain desire long term are not doing more. They are doing less. Less explaining, less checking, less reassuring, less adjusting. They carry their own emotional weight. And because of that, the interaction stays light. Light enough for desire to exist. This is the paradox men need to understand. Desire does not need more effort. It needs less emotional pressure. The moment you stop trying to make desire safe, you make it possible. And the moment you stop needing attraction to feel complete, you become the kind of man attraction moves toward naturally. Not because you learned tricks, but because your nervous system finally stopped asking for something it did not need.